Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flizanes.
Am I still Doug Sandler? I've been trying to change my name the entire time.
You haven't been successful. Today's show is a much anticipated show by at least a handful of you.
JJ.
Who I see. What?
I hate you.
Now, I know the show title is called Dear Haters, and I have to be clear that I may have haters, but the people who have left some negative reviews or not positive reviews, I don't think I can classify them as haters quite yet, but it's the theme in which people leave negative comments and reviews on public places that I just wanted to address. Anyone, let me give you a little backstory as to some of the mindset that I had around recording the show today. It's been talked about since I was in Baltimore with Doug's family at the Shiva and funeral for Doug's brother. And I found myself, after being away and out of my own environment for several days, starting to feel negative, starting to feel sort of the effects of not being in in my own space, in a higher vibration place. I was sort of out of my practice. Not that anything was really bad or anything. I just was tired and wanted to be home. I wanted to be able to work on the show and do other things, and I was starting to feel a little off balance.
You're kind of cranky when you're off balance.
Aren't we all cranky when we're all off balance?
I'm cranky most of the time, so I must always be off balance.
Lucky me. Lucky me. So I was a little off balance by the end of the week. We had been traveling so much and being there. And so I was already in, let's say, a lower vibration. And anytime you're in a sort of negative down spiraling momentum, thoughts and actions and things that you manifest will match that.
It's called the act of piling on. I believe was the technical term to that. When you see negative, everything is negative. You look at life through a whole different filter. Wow, an ugly filter.
Well, you definitely notice different things. And I, up until that point, had really not even noticed some of the reviews on my show that weren't positive. So I found it really interesting that all of a sudden I was in tune with people who were not happy with the show and felt so strongly about it that they had to leave a negative review. I don't know about you, but when I don't like something, I just walk away from it.
Yeah, but people sometimes they think that they're helping. JJ, I just want to get something off my chest. They think that they are helping when all they're doing is just holding that mirror up. Bad reflection on them.
Well, someone left a review on my YouTube channel. There's a grain-free paleo bread recipe on my Easy Paleo gluten and dairy-free cooking show. And that actual video, I believe, has over 10,000 views. And someone wrote, "No, thank you."
Well, at least they were polite. They said, "No, thank you."
But I thought, just move on. Why do you need to spend the time typing something?
But before we even get into the reviews, it sounds like you want a like, but you don't want a dislike button. So why is it that iTunes is leaving? You either should like the episode or the podcast, or you just leave. So what they're doing is they're trying to make it just like Amazon does. And again, I got a ton of 5-star reviews on Nice Guys Finish First. I got one 1-star review, and it was only because it was it's the same information I've seen, on every other business book. I'm like, yeah, until you fuckers get it all right, I'm going to continue saying the same thing over and over again, because you can't even return phone calls. The same guy that left the negative message probably doesn't return phone calls or on time for appointments and all the other shit that I have to repeat over and over and over again. So 1-star me, F off. Sorry, it wasn't a hug your haters.
This has
day,
become
right?
about Doug. No, I'm kidding. No, and rightfully so, because the point of doing the show. At first, when I was sitting there at the desk in Baltimore and I was feeling badly, and then I read some of these and I felt worse, I thought I'm going to do a Dear Hater show as therapy for myself, first and foremost, to make myself feel better and to sort of work through the resistance. And then as I started to feel better and I had the perspective, I've worked many, many years on not being triggered by other people's stuff, being able to identify very quickly, which is why it bothered me even more when it bothered me, because I'm like, why does this bother me? Because it normally doesn't bother me. I've had people leave a review on my YouTube channel. One woman wrote, "You're too skinny to have any idea what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah." And I literally thought, oh my God, I can feel her pain. She's so frustrated that all she wants to do is yell at me. She wants me to be the punching bag because she thinks she's tried everything, and all she wants to do is discount me because she has no more hope. So rather than take offense to the negative comment, I could feel her pain. Back in 2009, before I wrote Fit to Love, and as I was finishing writing the NAC Absolute Abs book, I happened to be looking on the computer on Facebook and noticed that some of my college friends had joined a group on Facebook called I Hate Elizabeth Hasselbeck. Now, for those of you that don't know who she is, and maybe I'm saying her name.
From The View?
The View, right. And I believe she's Republican.
Where did that name come from?
And I know she's gluten-free. But I remember looking at that, thinking to myself, are you kidding me? You joined a group that says you hate somebody?
Well, people collectively like to get in groups together and hate collectively, I guess.
Right. And I understand, again, I could break this down and understand exactly why they're all doing it and what their real fears are and all that kind of stuff. But in the moment, I thought to myself, here's my future. Not that I'm going to have people saying, making I hate you pages, but thinking the larger you grow, the larger your light spans, the more people have to say. And, I don't know if those of you listening have watched Brene Brown's very first TED Talk. It had millions and millions of views, and there were a lot of negative comments, and she went to a kind of a dark place about it, which is when she wrote Daring Greatly. But it affected her deeply. Jimmy Moore's going through the same thing. He's taking a sabbatical because he's had so much negative haters from, and rightfully so. I mean, when you take a stance from keto and the vegans or the people who believe that animals create heart disease, it's a heated topic, and he's taking it personally, and he's starting to feel badly about it. So he's taking a sabbatical. And one of the things that was said to me during this time back in 2009 was that, and it's a marketing rule, so everybody listen up, and it applies to your life. 10% of the people will love you no matter what you do, and 10% will hate you no matter what you do. And if you're not getting anyone who you're triggering or doesn't like you, you are not reaching a big enough audience.
Or you're not talking deep enough about what you do. I mean, that's the other side of it too. Is you could certainly walk that gray line between what is loved and what is hated, and you could do it with all of the artisan of a craftsman. However, take a stance, be bold, go out there on a limb, and actually talk about something that you truly believe in, and challenge somebody to be your hater. I'm not saying look for haters. I'm just saying, dare to share your experiences and your knowledge and your wisdom. Dare to take a stance on something. Somebody is going to have the exact opposite stance. Be ready for it. It's coming.
Absolutely. And I know that I'm a not weak personality. And I know that my presence...
You?
I know that I'm the kind of person that you're either going to like me or you're going to not like me. I'm going to trigger you. But I also understand that when I trigger you, it isn't about me. So, with that said, I got kind of a little ruffled feathers because I hadn't even looked at my reviews, because I get so many positive emails from a lot of you out there, life-changing emails, that I knew I was on the right track. And so I've been keep it on, not because I set out to do this show from a place of, boy, do I really need to affect everyone's life. It's really awesome when that happens, but that wasn't the goal. The goal with Fit to Love, when I started that show, was to, and I had 6 days a week. For those of you that don't know the story, 2 of the days were video, exercise and cooking, and the other 4 days were audio. And the reason why I had 6 days is because I had so much flippin' content in my mind and all the things I was learning that I wanted to share with other people. And when I put in the Freedom Fridays, which was the Law of Attraction Day, which is now Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, that day was literally my own guilty pleasure. If I had not allowed myself to do all 6 days, I never would have stepped into where I am right now. Because I just figured if I gave everybody the content that I thought they would want, that I could stick in, for those of you that are interested, the stuff that was working for me, the stuff I was passionate about, which was law of attraction and spirituality and astrology. So when I rebranded and put Spirit, Purpose, and Energy out, I had no attachment to any of it. I literally thought, if you don't like it, don't listen. What has happened is that a lot of you like it, and a lot of you are finding that it is working in your life and you resonate with the message. And I'm not taking credit for the message, but I'm coming to my show as an expert and as an educated person in many areas. So for those of you, we're doing this show called Dear Haters. There's literally 6 people who left negative reviews that I'm going to speak to, who I'm sure still don't listen to the show.
And we would ask you, if you are one of these people, please come here so JJ can punch you in the face.
Not at all. Not at all. No.
We have one hater on our show that left a negative review, and every time that we happen to talk about all of our reviews, a couple of hundred of very positive reviews, one negative review, we always talk about this one guy, and we invite him on the show every time because I want to have a conversation with him. We're like, what's the 1 star about? Let's talk about it. Let's see if we have changed your mind over the last 900 episodes of the Nice Guys on Business podcast, because that was left, I think, a couple of years ago.
Right, but not everyone's going to like you.
Yeah.
And
whatever.
You guys do talk about nothing on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And
I love you. I love you.
There's a lot to be said about nothing.
Exactly. You fill 40 minutes twice a week with nothing. With talking about Teslas and then talking about
It's great.
nothing.
It's great banter. We have more people that listen to those 2 shows, the Tuesday and Thursday shows, than listen to our Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shows. And it's like, that's some great effing content on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Right. Well, that's, again, here it is. There are how many podcasts out there?
I think close to 1 billion now.
Right.
And I produce all of them, too. I am very busy.
You are very busy. So, to me, it's a very easy way to put out content, and then if people don't like you, they stop listening. There's a couple podcasts that I can't listen. There's a lot of podcasts I can't listen to, whether it be sound quality. I don't like the host. I don't think the host knows what they're talking about. I don't like the content.
Hey, are you talking about my show?
Next question.
Oh,
no, I'm not. No, stop.
You send me those links. I listen to your episodes.
Babe. I'm giving the.
I love my haters.
Which is me. No, I'm kidding. I'm giving the overview of that in this podcast land. There's so much to choose from. The fact that somebody takes the time to leave a negative review means they're triggered.
Don't you think? Okay, so how about the other side of it? Don't you think they're actually wanting you to have the feedback so that maybe you just aren't thinking about it and you could change? And maybe because of their comment, you will change.
To please them?
I don't know. I don't know why people leave negative reviews unless it's a consumer-based product that you're trying to protect somebody else from buying or being ripped off from. Just move on. Move on.
Well, there's validity, right? We talk about the emotional aspects of everything. And like I said about the woman who left the negative review on my YouTube channel, she was frustrated. And so rather than own her frustration and her fear and her hopelessness about her weight, she wanted to, make me the punching bag. It's a very common thing that most of us displace our unresolved, unexpressed, not processed emotions on others.
I want to hear some of these reviews, some of these negative reviews,
well,
because for me, I want to. Go ahead.
I want us to both read them. Okay, so I want you to read this.
Okay, I'm going to read this. Would you like me to read it in the voice of the listener?
No, just read it.
Okay. So, wish I could like this podcast, February 28th, 2019. Well, she gave it a 3, or he gave it a 3 stars. I don't know what that meant. I want to love this podcast and continue subscribing. I have learned so many interesting things. However, I find myself agitated at some point every episode when JJ talks way too much about herself. And I said that way because way was capitalized, all of them. And what she knows, therefore limiting the amount of information we get from the guest. Personally, I don't want to hear debates between JJ and the guest. It always ends up seeming like JJ is trying to one-up the guests. Huh. Very interesting. The perspective is really interesting because can I offer my opinion before you sound off on what is the idea behind this? I think that in a typical interview show, the podcast host asks a question and expects the guest to answer the question, and therefore the guest is the authority in this particular type of format. And I think if the host were to talk too much, they would show their stupidity. In your particular case, and I've heard many of your episodes, and I know the type of process you have for bringing a guest on your show, I find that your level of intelligence is at or above many of the guests, even the guests that have advanced degrees and beyond where you are from an educational perspective. I find that you do talk the talk. It's not just like you do walk the walk. I find that you talk, and you'll even stop a guest and say and push back, because I think you have the ability and the authority and the education to do that. That's what my thinking is. So for this person that had the 3-star review on your show to say that, I think she doesn't understand the format of the show.
And that's a good point. And it actually led me to explain on the show a few weeks ago with Karen Newell, because I understand when, especially if you're new to me and to the show, and you start listening and you're wanting to hear Karen, and now you're just hearing JJ talk. First of all, everyone, this is a free show. and you may not realize it, but it is a business, and I pay the bills to publish and produce the show. And I don't ask you to pay to subscribe or to download any of the episodes. It's all free information for you. And most of the time, there's some free gift you get at the end of each show. So it's a wealth of information that you're getting for free. And it is my show. And it's my passion. It's my decision how to produce it, who to bring on, what to talk about. And it's my sort of blood, sweat, and tears that's created, any kind of, I'm going to say, environment that a guest like I've had on recently has wanted to be on, because I'm offering them you. I'm offering them, those of you that listen to the show on a regular basis, as new fans of theirs, of new opportunities for them to sell a product, service, book, or influence you in some way. And like Doug said, I want to have these conversations. If it wasn't for the fact that I don't have the time to do all the research to bring you the data that a lot of these guests are bringing, I would be talking to you and educating you myself. The feedback I've had from 3 live events is that the people who come to the events, my sort of biggest fans, is that they want more of me. Now, I know that's not all of you, and some of you obviously, like this person, doesn't want to hear my stories. Here's what I want to tell you about my stories. My stories have a point. When I tell a story, it's because I want you to hear the lesson in the story from a distance. If you think I am telling you the story out of ego, that means you have a problem in your own life. Don't stop me. You have a problem in your own life speaking up for yourself. There is something that you don't feel you have the right to share, or maybe you feel shame about, or you feel like you'd be bragging if you shared something good. But for me, when I'm explaining a story, it's because I believe, and for me, people learn best when they can see themselves in someone else's story. If I tell you, it's like a therapist telling you what's wrong with you is nowhere near impactful as you uncovering it yourself. When you can see yourself and go, oh my God, I do that, it lands in a different place, and therefore you can identify and go, oh my God, I do that too. How do I stop that? So when I share stories with you, it's so that I've been through some of the same things that you guys have gone through, and to make sense of why I'm sharing this guest with you. But like Doug said, I didn't start this show to feature a whole bunch of experts. I started this show to be the expert, as well as to have conversations with people who are more of an expert than I am, and to learn and grow with them. As you all know, as much as I adore and believe Imago therapy is one of the best therapies for couples, you heard me disagree, or I disagreed with Harville about the fact that we we have to find God or connection to spirituality within a human. And you know that because of my conversation with Dr. Eben Alexander of Proof of Heaven. So, but I didn't argue with Harville. I wasn't going to do that because I have too much respect for the man and the work that he's done and how much he's grown and expanded. It's not about right or wrong. We're having different conversations. So when I talk about my stories, my goal is to help you maybe see yourself in some of it to learn something.
Yeah, and I was just going to emphasize that. I think you made the point that I was just about to make, is that the guest, who is just a one-time visitor in the world of JJ and the community, doesn't understand the community. And you, with all of your heart and soul, spirit, purpose, and energy, you understand your community. The most important thing that a host can do when a guest is on the show is to connect the message of the guest with the community that is bringing, the listening to the show. And the host, if they do a good job, they will be loved by their community. They will be understood by their community. The host understands the community understands the host, and the guest is just the catalyst for the conversation. So I agree with you 100% that the message that you share is critical, and without that message, I think that you lose who you are. So I would say absolutely, you have to continue doing it the way that you do it. And those that want to give a 3-star review as a result, and I don't even think 3 stars is so bad, but those that want to give a more of a negative review or not a beaming review, just don't understand the importance of the role that you play.
And hey, I'm not for everybody, and I'm okay with that. You don't have to like me. But I want any of you who do get annoyed by my stories or that I talk way too much on my own damn show, hello, if that bothers you, remember that the world is a mirror for what you don't like about yourself. It's never about the other person. It's always about you. So if you're annoyed by somebody else, it's one thing to say, you know what, I don't really care for that person. But if you're triggered by a person, you better believe there is something in them that you don't like because it lives in you. You resonate with what is in them you don't like, and you're projecting it onto them. So that's the lesson from that review that I want everyone to remember, that when you're triggered by somebody else, it's not about them. Go within, figure out what you don't like about yourself that they are showing you, and thank them secretly for letting you see that, because they're your mirror.
Yeah, but that's just the 3-star review. Let's get to the good ones, the 1-star reviews.
Okay, well, here's a 2-star.
Okay.
This one is from Big Rocks 1, and this was February 25th, 2019. It's a 2-star. I've tried to listen to several episodes, but the first few minutes are a sales pitch to the point I just turn it off.
I think the whole idea, I mean, I'm not even going to, let's just keep reading. Just keep reading the message, because I have some, okay.
That's the whole message.
Okay. Go back to the beginning of that last explanation of what you do and how you pay for your show, and the fact that you're not asking anybody to pay for the subscription. How the hell else are we supposed to pay for our shows? Yes, there's an advertisement. Do you have to buy it? No, don't. You can even hit that little forward button if you want to, and you don't want to listen to the advertisement. If there's an advertisement in the show it's not like you're bombarding your community with advertisements.
No, but I am a hard sell, and it comes up one more time. But here's what I want to say about selling, because I'm going to say that I get people in the room, and I get loyal fans who become clients because they hear the heart behind the sale. When you start to turn off because someone's selling you, again, think about, what does that mean for you? You're uncomfortable. You don't like to be sold to. Why? Because you don't, especially in a podcast. It's one thing when you have someone hard selling in front of your face who's looking at you, pointing at you, their energy's on you. It's like too much. I get that. But this is a podcast, guys. You're not looking at me. I'm not looking at you. You can fast forward, just like Doug said, if it bothers you. But know that, and I'm going to continue doing it, because the reason why I've created anything in the last 2 years is because of the feedback I get from you, the listeners. The Releasing What Weighs You Down came out of the Manifestation Challenge. The Manifestation Challenge came out of Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. All of the things I've created have been to service those of you who need and want more.
And you know who you are. No, you're probably the same ones that are complaining about the advertisements too.
Yeah, actually, if you are so unnerved by the sale, it's probably because the sales pitch. It's probably because you know you need it and you are in denial or have fear around it. So think about that in sales situations, especially on a podcast. I get it if someone's in your face, like yelling at you or trying to like used car salesman, like following you around. I get that.
Go ahead and listen to 4 Hour Work Week with Tim Ferriss. He does about 18 minutes of commercials in the beginning of his show.
Yeah, I just listened to another podcast and there were 4 commercials. Four. I mean, they weren't like how I do my ads, which are basically me telling you about the stuff I'm offering. And I'm also trying to speak to what it is I think you want. Again, guys, I get emails all the time. So I'm responding to that, knowing that you want change, you want transformation. That's what this show's about. So do you think I'm just going to be like, oh, good, just listen and go about your life, and I don't really care if you ever change? Not to mention that I want you to get out from behind your cars and your desks and your work and the things and do something different and shake it up and do a pattern interrupt so that you can get the change.
And what's the big deal that if someone takes advantage of something that you are providing, are they afraid that you shouldn't want to make money as a result of that? You shouldn't benefit off of the sorrow or the pain or the emotional trauma that somebody else is going through? How about the healing part of it?
Right. All they're hearing is the sale. They're not hearing what people get coming out the other end of it.
Right. How about all of those people that have been in your and I've been to a couple of your live events now since we've been together. And how about the changes that you've been able to make in other people's lives as a result of them buying something and them listening to a commercial, because they wouldn't have taken advantage of anything that you've done unless you actually told them about something.
Right.
Are people mad that it's you that's benefiting and you that is profiting from this?
Well, that would be them thinking of scarcity, but they're probably feeling confronted. When, again, you don't like sales, there's 2 reasons why. One, you are not confident enough in your own self-worth to necessarily sell yourself in any way. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean to like say that you're, to sell yourself. We all sell things all the time.
Or you can't be strong enough to say no to somebody that's
or you deep down know you need it. And so you're just in denial. And so you're just in denial. I think that's going to hit 2 of them, but because it's 2 said something about sales. So let's move on to the next one.
Okay. This one is a 2-star review labeled That's just the subject. HMMM. I started listening to some episodes and I thought they were interesting. Then in one, she mentioned that because of her lifestyle, she looks way younger than her age, etc. I go and check her Instagram profile with only 2,000 something followers, a woman looking in her 40s, best-selling author, ? Speaker, and wow. Then she talks about astrology, and she admits in a post that she didn't know that each zodiac sign was a constellation. So, oh well, enough. Like, wow. How many different areas of your life is this person going to actually attack? Interesting. How'd that make you feel, though? That kind of made me feel a little bit uggy for you.
So I don't remember what the conversation was and what show that it was, but let me address a couple things here.
I remember when you said, when you discovered that the zodiac signs represented the constellations.
It was what they looked like.
Right.
It wasn't that they weren't constellations. It was what did they look like. Did I know that the zodiac signs are in the sky? Yes, but I didn't know the shape of all of the different constellations because we don't deal with, who cares what the shape is? It doesn't affect that I'm a Pisces with a Sag moon and a Sag rising. It could be a straight line. It could be a circle. It doesn't change the energy of what the sign means. So I guess if that discredited me in astrology, that's cool. I think I've said a million times I'm not an astrologer. But, and I don't do houses, and I use astrology in a very specific way. So that's that. In terms of, I guess you don't think I look youthful. That's cool. You're allowed to think I look old. Let's go back to the Instagram profile.
She looks pretty hot, people, by the way.
Let's go back to the Instagram profile with only 2,000 something followers. This is true. I have a pretty lame number of followers on both my Facebook fan page and my Instagram because Facebook owns Instagram, because I can't do ads. I have been banned from Facebook ads for many years because of the Fit to Love podcast show. I ran 2 ads. One was a free book giveaway for my Fit to Love book. It was an ebook. And the other one was the blooper reel from season 1, I believe, of the Fit to Love podcast show. I ran those 2 ads at the same time on Facebook, and they flagged me, and they closed my ad account.
But how about the fact that you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't look at someone that has 500,000 Twitter followers or Instagram followers as someone that actually is an influencer. They could have done a number of things in order to get those followers. The other thing I look at is how many other podcasts do you know that have 1 million fucking downloads?
Oh, yeah. By the way, everybody, you are contributing right now, today, to crossing over the 1 million mark for Spirit, Purpose, and Energy alone.
Congratulations, baby.
Thanks,
I'm telling you, when you start focusing on things that are so minute as, how many Instagram followers does she have? She has 2,000, and so she can't be any good. I discredit that person for not looking at the overall picture. How many reviews does her show have? How many downloads does the show have? How many followers does she have? How successful is she at her live events? How much money does she make through the course of the year? Yes, we have to contribute that. We have to add that into the mix as well. And how about all of the other things that pile on to show that you're actually someone that is an influencer in this space? I discredit her analysis just because she said Instagram followers only. I would not look at just that one component.
Yeah, I think at the time I probably had 20,000 Twitter followers. But here's the bottom line. Here's where the lesson is for you guys and how you can use this in your own life. That number for a lot of people, and especially for me in business, people look at that and they judge it. And it's something that could bring shame. And I will tell you that maybe for a little while it did bring shame. But then I was really thankful that Facebook shut me down, because do you understand how much money I saved because it's so easy to spend too much money on Facebook ads without any kind of strategy other than like campaigns, which I could basically pay for. Lots of people do pay for their followers. So again, you don't really know if there are people that pay for and buy email lists. They have 200,000 people on their email list, and they'll tell you that, but they don't tell you what their open rate is, or what their unsubscribe rate is, or what their conversion on their sales are.
I just completely discount the comment. We have 3 million listeners to our show, 3 million downloads on our show. I have 988 as of the recording of this Instagram followers. I don't focus on Instagram. It's just not my channel, not my zone.
But where the lesson is that someone is deciding to judge me based on how many Instagram followers I have.
And I think, what was the comment about your age? I didn't understand that one.
We can skip it. I'm over it. I'm over it, and it's fine. And it didn't need to be said. Again, so it begs the question: what's going on with you that you have to sort of be mean? I've had compliments from people that I grew up with that say I look exactly the same as I did in high school. So I don't know. Maybe that was the conversation I was having with somebody, and maybe I put it on the show. So maybe you're feeling insecure about how you look, and because I said something, maybe I was happy with myself and wasn't beating myself up or self-deprecating, that you thought, well, she seems too happy with herself, I must put her down. We need to bring her down to a different level, or the level where you are, possibly. Here's another one on the sales. It's a 1-star, and it says hard. Tuned in, and the first 3 minutes was upselling to products, social media, seminars, etc. She hard sells way too much. Okay, so just like I said, back to the whole thing of, yes, I am going to offer you products and services because those of you that want it are going to take it up on it, and you're going to change your lives, and you're going to be better for it. And those of you that aren't ready aren't going to do it. And if you don't, then you can just stick with me for the first 5 minutes of the show, skip over it, and get to the content if you want. But I'm not going to stop wanting to help you. And that's what my selling is about. I create products and programs to help people feel free, to help them lose weight, to help them feel joy and peace and love and passion and connection. And that is what every single product, program, service I offer does. So if you have a problem with that, obviously, we are not a match. Move on to the next podcast. Okay, I want you to read this next one.
Okay, this one is. Does she mean gender, or he mean gender biased, or
no? I don't know
based?
if it's. Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was gender biased or gender based.
Okay, well, the spelling is gender based. It's a 3-star review. I have a hard time giving this 3 stars, but I must. I haven't listened to all of the episodes yet. My biggest complaint that I feel with fine, but is the reason I am not going to rate this 4 or 5 stars is because this podcast and most of the episodes will adjust my rating if the rest don't follow suit. Alienates men and women and caters to women. Oh, it's gender biased. Okay, or gender based, either way. That is fine, and I'm glad that you have the support and a podcast that helps, don't get me wrong, but for the issues. But all the topics are things men and women go through or question or want answers about. Regardless, and besides that, there are gems of inspiration and nuggets of wisdom that I get in almost every episode. I just need to put my filter on and cater it to me as a male. Also used this platform to inform the listeners on my observation of this awesome podcast thus far. I'm really having a hard time even understanding. I guess this is a man.
Yes.
So is this a man that is transitioning?
No, honey. I think it's a man that's saying that I'm catering to women.
What show was this for? Women, Men, and Relationships?
No, it's for Spirit, Purpose, and Energy.
Okay, so make your comment then. I'm not sure I follow.
Well, I don't think I cater to women. I don't think I not cater to men. I know there are men listening to this show that write to me, and I guess I would need more information on specific episodes. I feel like I'm neutral gender. I try to talk from both sides. It's why I have another show called Women, Men, and Relationships. But on Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, I don't think it's at all.
It doesn't. I don't even. It's not valid. It's like listening to a baseball podcast, and they cater to men because they talk mostly about baseball, and more men like baseball than women do. What if you don't like the podcast? Don't listen. Why are you listening then?
Well, because he's having a hard time saying that he is finding gems of information. So if you still listen to the show, I apologize. If you would like to give me some more data about the exact references that I made that have you think I'm making this more about women than men, I don't think I am. A lot more women respond to me.
Oh, my God. It's your show. Why can't you do what you want with the show?
So if you are still listening, what was the person's name?
Tierra Bell.
Tierra Bell, who's a guy?
That's what I was asking. Maybe it's a guy transitioning. Maybe I don't know. I wasn't sure. Yes, Teirabell.
Okay, we're gonna leave that one right now because we're both confused about what to do with that, and I appreciate that you think. Here's the thing, everyone. If you're torn, you're a 3-star, you don't feel like you can give me a 5-star or a 4-star, you're torn because like half of you likes me and half of you doesn't. I would welcome an email about why or about what would you want to hear. Listen, Doug just made a face, and that's why I'm saying listen. Because if you're in this energy, in this vortex of my audience, and you're sort of right there, and you're not quite there yet, but you're almost there, I want to help you get there, or I want to help you leave. I want to split the difference, because there's going to be things inherently in my personality and who I am that you may or may not like, and that's okay. And I may trigger you. And I'll tell you right now, if I trigger people in different ways, I know it's not about me. And you don't have to like me, and I am okay with that. I really am okay with that. I have had to make peace with half of my family not liking me. Okay. So I have done a lot of work over the years on accepting myself for who I am. I've been different. I've been the black sheep. I've been smarter in different ways. I have left home and left the nest. I have challenged status quo. I do things differently. I eat differently. I talk differently. Right? So it is not unusual for me to not feel like part of society at large. And
in other words, JJ is saying she is comfortable with this and she is okay with where she is.
Right. But I also understand that I'm not for everybody. So I think that's the end.
People are yelling at their speakers right now, by the way, just so you know. Your fans, the ones that are loyal to you, the ones that love you, and the ones that are saying to the speaker right now as they are listening to this either on their iPad, iPod, iMacs, whatever's that they have. It's just everybody just calm down. JJ is not taking this personally. She just wants to make sure that you're aware that this is happening in everybody's life. Everybody, if you're stepping out and you're saying something of any level of importance, you are going to have haters in your life, and you're going to have people that are going to be 3-starring you all the way. I mean, that person should have given you 1 star. Obviously, they're not happy with you. So move on, people.
Another reason I wanted to bring this show to you and to go over this wasn't for me to defend myself necessarily in all of these different comments, but was to emphasize that regardless of if someone ever makes a page of I hate JJ Flizanes, I will probably laugh and think that it's funny. And I will feel very vindicated that I'm famous enough that people are coming over to that page. However, if you do like me, you can come to my regular fan page on Facebook and like that and help me get over that 2,700 mark, because I can't pay for ads and you'll never see them. But it's because a lot of you have a message, have something you want to talk about, have something you want to stand for, and you allow the fear of people like this who make these kinds of comments to me to stop you. And the only reason I am able to do what I do is because I have worked through accepting and understanding who I am, healing some of my wounds and my triggers, to be able to see clearly that when someone hates me, when someone is bothered by me, that it's not about me. And I don't mean that in a mean way, because I'm still empathetic to hearing what's going on for that person, but I don't take it personally because I can see it clearly. And I don't want any of you to keep stopping yourself from taking a stance in your life because you're afraid about what your mother's going to say, what your father's going to say, or what your spouse is going to say, or what your friends are going to say. There is something inside of you wanting to be expressed, and I want to help you come out and say it. And maybe it's through a podcast, and maybe it's through writing, and maybe it's through being a part of my community where you can feel safe to be yourself, but do something to give yourself your voice. So that way you don't feel repressed, and you don't feel stifled, and you don't feel controlled. That's another reason why I wanted to bring you today's show. Now, we're going to finish with 2 positive. These came this week, and so I got permission from both people to read them. The first one is from Christy. She says, I had to send you a note to tell you thank you. You have changed my life so much since I stumbled across your Spirit, Purpose, Energy podcast. I would say that I have always been a spiritual person versus a religious person, with a knowing that there is something greater than us and more things that connect us than separate us. But I struggled with really making that connection I needed to help make a difference in my life, and found myself in a rut with many unprocessed feelings and emotions, leading to anxiety and other things. I believe things come to us as we need them, and your podcast definitely came into my life when I needed it. The law of attraction messaging resonated with me, and I love the range of topics as well as various angles and viewpoints from understanding, knowing versus scientific, etc. I still have a long way to go, and I'm working hard on healing and growing. But I am so excited for the future and to keep learning more on this journey. I have told so many people about you and the Spirit, Purpose, Energy podcast. Actually, I met someone at my work, and within minutes of talking to her, felt a strong connection and similar vibration, and I just knew I had to open up and share about my journey with her. I shared your podcast, and she went and listened right away and ended up telling me shortly after it changed her life as well. She actually was in your last 30-day manifestation challenge. It's just another testament to attracting based on your vibes and manifesting. I just signed up for the next challenge, and I cannot wait to continue to heal my past wounds and continue this journey with you and your tribe. Thank you for all you are doing to bring this information to people. You have inspired me to do the same. So I asked her if I could read this, and she said, yes, absolutely. And then she said, happy to spread the word and help bring to life the impact of your work and your purpose. I should add, I've enjoyed listening and learning so much that I've listened to every podcast on Spirit, Purpose, and Energy from the first one all the way to episode 154, which I'm currently listening to.
Wow, she was binge JJing.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate that. I appreciate also the ability to share that with other people because, again, these are the emails that I started getting that just told me this is working and people like it, and obviously the downloads continued to grow, and people reached out and people asked for questions and people joined the manifestation challenge. And so, so I get 5 less than 3-star reviews, but I have 178 5-star reviews, and I get emails weekly from people like Christy who tell me that my podcast alone, she's never bought a product or service from me, but the podcast alone has changed her life. So why wouldn't I get thicker skin if I didn't have thick skinned to be on a mission to help people when I know that this information works?
And when you see value in the message that a host of a show brings, like you bring, JJ, to sit through the 60 seconds of commercials is fine, or to hit the advance button is fine. You're not doing it for the commercials. You're doing it for the help that you bring to people, and people know that. People like Christy know that. They know that.
And again, looping it back to what that means for all of you, there are going to be your people and not your people. It's really that simple. And when you have someone who's not your people, trying to convince them to be your people just means that you're not comfortable with people who don't like you. Sometimes the lesson is to learn how to allow people to have their opinion when it differs from yours. And the more you can allow people to not like you and you be happy anyway, man, you've got it. Nothing will bother you when you're okay with people who don't like you. So the last one that I want to read was from Amy. And the reason I'm going to read it is last and is because there's also an idea in here for some of you. So Amy writes, I just want to thank you for all your valuable information you provide on all your podcasts. They have been a wonderful inspiration to me. You make everything easy to understand, and I resonate with you and your soul essence. Anyways, I'm 36 years old and have never been on vacation before. I would really like to go on the Dolphin Panama trip. However, the payment plan costs more than my monthly income, so it would be impossible for me to afford it. I believe in the law of attraction, and I know I have the power to manifest all that I desire, but I just don't know how I can make this happen in such a short time period. Can you give me any tips for how I make it on this trip to Panama this year with you and other participants? Thank you in advance, and many blessings. So I wrote back to Amy and told her to do a crowdfunding campaign. One of my good friends years ago wanted to take a retreat to India. It was a pilgrimage for spiritual reasons. She wanted to go meditate and maybe take some kind of workshop or class. I can't remember what was all involved. But she came up with whatever it was going to cost her, and she reached out to her family and her friends. She put it on Facebook, and it got paid for. I contributed money to it, and she went to India, and she had her experience, and she came back, and she was super thankful and grateful. And now she had been on many vacations, but this was a different kind of pilgrimage for her. So what I recommended to Amy, which I'm going to recommend to any of you, if you want to go on this trip, because I promise it will be magical, is a crowdfunding campaign. And there are many of them out there. GoFundMe is one of the most popular, but there's others. You can just Google crowdfunding campaigns and you can do them personally. So if you have a birthday coming up or a holiday and you ask your friends and family to contribute, maybe you only need half of what it costs because you can do the other half. You can also just put it out on Facebook, or you could do some kind of exchange. You could do a work for, like, if you pay me now, I will do this kind of work for you. It's like, having a sale on something, like, let's say babysitting or dog walking or some kind of tutoring or something that you could offer them, and you have them pay you like up front. So you do some work now and then they pay you X amount for the next 6 months, but you collect it all up front so you can go on the trip. Anyway, those are 2 ideas about how to manifest and do something different, because while you can meditate about it, I do want you to be in action about it, and you'll never know unless you try. So you could try and not make it, but at least you tried, and you would understand. You could definitely take it to any other groups or people at work, or, hey, I think it'd just be a great exercise in confidence building to go out there and kind of sell yourself, to ask for assistance, to give yourself the gift of something you've never had before.
I agree. I think all of those ideas are great. I've always been a fan of extra work for for extra compensation, and if it's worth it for you and you want to put in the extra hours or the extra time, or if you want to find a way to do it, you'll figure it out. And if you don't accomplish the task, look at what you have accomplished, and maybe, just maybe, and I'm not saying this because I know, was it Amy, did you say?
Yes.
I'm not saying this because I know Amy at all, but maybe the reason why you have arrived at the position that you're in currently financially is because you haven't done something that's a little bit out there, a little bit different. You haven't rocked the status quo, and you're falling into the same trap that maybe many people in your family or your past have been there and negatively impacted financially. So maybe there is something that you could do to get out of that right now.
So I hope that today satisfied all of you, those of you that know who you are, who knew this show was coming. But I hope that you heard the lessons in there for you as well as for me. I'm not against negative feedback. I take it with a grain of salt, and there are times where it's absolutely accurate. Here's what I'll say, though, about when you give unsolicited feedback. You may be right about something that someone else needs to understand or know, but if they're not asking and they're not asking you, the likelihood that they're going to receive it is very slim. People have to be ready to hear what it is that you're saying and willing and wanting. I get to educate at a level that is comfortable and enjoyable for me. You get to receive it, use it, or don't. And there's no problem. But if in life you are giving unsolicited advice to people who aren't asking you, it's the fastest way to make enemies. And while I will read all of my reviews from now on and continue to take everything with a grain of salt, if it's valid, I will let you know. And, I didn't finish my thought earlier when I was saying about me telling my stories and I'm talking way too much. And I know that actually influenced the beginning of that Karen Newell episode that I did, because I wanted to explain to you all that when I get these bigger guests on the show, as my name gets out there more and the show expands, and it's even going to be more in the very near future, where I'm going to be promoted to many, many people very quickly of very high stature. As my name gets out there,
details coming soon on these.
Something that I've manifested and that Doug has manifested, very cool stuff. We'll share that very soon. These people coming on don't know me. And yes, I would like to establish a little credibility in the beginning of my show so they understand where I'm going to take the conversation.
I've even just, sorry to interrupt, but I've even witnessed personally with some pretty big names when you have given them pushback or share your opinion, them thinking that you were certified, licensed, educated to the level that even they were. And these people have followed you on Facebook and commented on many of your posts as well, which is a feather in your cap, and it's great. And you should be given all the accolades that you deserve.
Thanks, honey. So I'm just trying to build relationships, and I don't have the clout yet to ask these people to listen to my show before they come on. They have no idea who I am when they come on, some of them. So my show is my way of establishing credibility with them. And that is why you will hear me set the show up in the beginning a little bit more than maybe somebody else does. So again, I invite you, if I annoy you, please don't listen to my show. I don't want to annoy you. That is not my goal. I'd like to help you and contribute to you. And that is what I do. And hopefully those of you that are still here know and feel my heart and the fact that I am coming to the table with a lot of information. I'm not just your host that's interested in interviewing people that are 16 times more advanced than I am. I'm looking for people who can take the messages that I have, further them, the ones that they have that I don't know about, educate me and you at the same time, and continue this positive momentum that seems to be working in changing people's lives. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a fan. I'm sure the people who wrote those are probably still not listening, and that's okay. I hope that you got something out of today's show. And if you feel so inclined, I'd love a review. Preferably one that's 4 or 5 stars. But if not, that's totally fine. Whatever. It is what it is, and I'm accepting the journey.
Hey, look at all the attention you gave to the 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3 star reviews.
Yeah, thank you all, you 187 to 200 people who've left me 5-star reviews. I appreciate it greatly and immensely, and I really do thank you. It's why I read these emails on the air, because I want everyone to hear this community, and you're awesome, and it's because of you that we are continuing to have this conversation. And my life is changing. I know your life is changing, and as long as you want to be on the journey, I'm here to support you.
And thanks for 1 million downloads.
Woohoo! Celebrate. All right, everyone. Talk to you next week.